If I could go back and give myself the information that I'm about to give you to my 19-year-old self, I would have become a millionaire within 6 months. So listen up. This video is for you if you are trying to live the life of your dreams, if you want to become a millionaire, if you want to make your first $1 million in profit. If you haven't gotten to the place where you have done that yet, if you're just making 6 figures and you can't crack that, you want to crack it, you're trying to break that ceiling, you're trying to live the life you want to live, book the trips, and just have a robust investment portfolio, build wealth for yourself. This is what you're trying to do. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. I made my first $1 million in profit at the age of 23 years old, and I will never forget what that felt like. I will never forget that feeling. And I'll never forget knowing that all the work, all the nights spent, all the pain, all the tears, every single thing that I went through was worth it. I will never forget those feelings. I currently run my own 7-figure land flipping business, and I also run a consulting company where I teach people how to become 6- and 7-figure land flippers. And I did all of this before the age of 25. So your age has nothing to do with how much money you make. This is one thing that I let stop me in my earlier years when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. I didn't focus on making money. I didn't focus on what it would be like to produce for myself. I knew I was going to do it, but I waited until I got older. So age doesn't matter. If you're 60 years old, it doesn't matter. If you're 40 years old, it doesn't matter. You can make your first $1 million in profit from watching this video. Now, the first thing to understand is, why do you want to make the money? The why is everything, because when things get difficult for you, you have to remember why you're doing it. Why is $1 million important to me? Why is making my first $1 million in profit important to me? Is it because I want to go on a trip? Is it because I want to buy a car? Is it because I want to invest? Is it because I want to take care of my family? Why is it? Pick the reason why and stick to that reason. And I will tell you this, and I'm going to get into strategy. I'm going to get into very deep strategy on how you can make your first $1 million in profit with the land flipping business. But I need to talk about the other parts of this first, because when you go through and get in the vehicle, it's all about the person that's driving the vehicle. Let's say that you are driving a Ferrari. Well, if you're 600 pounds trying to get in a Ferrari, good luck, right? You got to be in shape. You have to be mentally in shape to get into a vehicle that's going to go fast and get you to your destination. So if you're not willing to be mentally in shape, then you're not going to put in the work. You're not going to put in the work that it's going to take to get to your destination, meaning that you're not going to build the skills required. It requires professionalism to make your first $1 million in profit. And we're surrounded by people who are unprofessional, which is why you have the 1%, because the 1% chose and choose to be professional. I chose to be professional. I chose to send out my marketing. I chose to have thousands and thousands and thousands of conversations with people I don't know from all over the country, no matter what, no matter if they said F me, no matter if they said they didn't want to talk to me, it didn't matter. I talked to the people. And then I talked to the people so much and got so good at it that I built processes around it and delegated it off to other people who now do it for me. So that way I only have to work a few hours a week in my business. Why did I do that? Because I knew that once I got to 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, I wanted to live the exact life that I wanted to live. I didn't want anyone telling me where to go, what to do, how to do it. No, you can't tell me that. You know why? Because my net worth is 10 times more than yours. So you can't tell me what to do. That's what I learned. And you have to have this confidence. And it sounds a little bit, it sounds competitive. It sounds abrasive. Yeah, that's what it takes. It takes you to be a bit of a savage. It takes you to be a little bit of you got to have that monster in you. If you want to get to the point where you're a 1% earner, you have to have a monster in you. You literally have to. And the other thing too is, the other thing with the why is, when it starts to get hard and when you start going through the process and you start improving on your skills, you realize like, okay, well, this is why I'm doing this. And so a lot of people, as they go through a system, they're looking for shortcuts. You're looking for all these shortcuts. You're looking for get rich quick schemes. You're looking for anything but just doing the work, anything but being disciplined. You're looking for everything but that. And I notice this because, I have clients, and I have some new clients that will come in, and I'll take a call with them just to check in and make sure that they're doing well, make sure they're on track. And then they're going through the process, and then they're trying to ask me if there's any cheat codes to what they're already doing. And the reality is, no, there's not. We laid out the process for you. This is the process. You have to do it. You have to be consistent. But then it's like you're looking for more cheat codes on top of that. And I think, unfortunately, society has made you think that the only way to get rich is by doing something nefarious, when that couldn't be further from the truth. You can get extremely wealthy by following processes, by being consistent, by talking to people and adding immense value to the marketplace. This is how you get rich. This is how you get rich and stay rich. Now, if you want to get rich for 3 months, then go ahead and go scam. This video is not for you. If you want to get rich, make your first $1 million in profit and continue to build on top of that and build a net worth and build legacy and be someone that you want to be. Like when you look in the mirror, you are the person you look up to. If you want to do that, well, then this video is for you. It also takes an inherent amount of discipline and action every single day. It takes discipline and action. This is not easy. This thing doesn't happen overnight. And you have to expect this to take a certain amount of time for you to get better at it. You have to. And when it comes to building wealth, wealth should take time. Because if wealth happens overnight, if getting rich happens overnight, it didn't take you anything. Why do you think that the people that win the lottery, they lose it? 99% of the people that win Mega Powerball, $1 billion, end up losing the money because they're not in alignment with the person that made $1 billion, because they didn't do anything to get that $1 billion. They didn't add value to the marketplace to get that $1 billion. And so the marketplace will always correct you. If you haven't done what's required to get and earn what you're supposed to earn, it will always correct you. So when it comes to strategy, what you need in making your first $1 million is outreach, and you need immense value. You need these two things. And I was able to find these two things in a land flipping business. Now, land flipping is where we buy property at anywhere from 35 to 50% of the market value and resell at 80 to 90% of the market value. And we do this consistently. We do it so consistently that we're able to build systems and processes around it so that we can consistently sell property on the market. And I've done deals where I've made $200,000, $100,000, $50,000, $70,000, $20,000, $30,000, you name it. I've done these deals, and you're able to put these deals on a conveyor belt. Now, this has been the best business model I've seen to build cash flow very quickly, because I haven't seen any other business model where you can make $80,000 in profit within 90 days, being pretty much a beginner and just talking to people. And so when it comes to talking to people, this is why skill acquisition is so important. You need to know how to talk to people. You need to know how to negotiate, and you cannot be afraid to do this. When it comes to getting really good at flipping land, the biggest skill that you have to have is knowing how to talk to people, how to handle people's objections, how to frame your value to that person. Those are the biggest skills that you can have when it comes to building a profitable land flipping business to the point where you're making your first $1 million in profit. Now, once you get to the point in your business where you have done deals on a consistent basis, right? You've acquired the skills, you've done it, you've talked to the people, you've closed the deals. This is when you start to delegate. You start to build processes and you start to delegate. And once you delegate, now you've put the deals on a conveyor belt because you have other people doing it for you. So the goal, and what I teach my clients to do and what I've done myself, is go from market selection to marketing to acquisitions to dispositions. So that is, we're selecting markets and where properties have sold in 90 days or less for $150,000 or more. We're selecting markets like that. We're then marketing to them with texting, cold calling, direct mail. We are then talking to the people that we marketed to, getting them under contract, closing them, negotiating with them, handling their objections, framing them, and then we're listing those properties on the market. And that's dispositions. That's where we make money. So this business model has been the best business model for me to build wealth in my early 20s. It's been the way that I made my first $1 million in profit. And it's important to understand that no business model is easy, but there are business models in where you can have a very fast cash conversion cycle. And I've had deals where I've made $50,000 within 24 hours. And so this is the kind of business model you want to be in so that you can consistently turn over your profit. The faster I can turn over my cash, the more wealthy I can get. So how do you turn over your cash as fast as possible? Well, you turn over your cash as fast as possible by adding the maximum value to the marketplace. How do you add the maximum value to the marketplace? By talking to as many people as possible, which is why a big metric for my clients and in my business is how many conversations we're having. You need to be having a certain amount of conversations with people and building up your skills with people and talking to people and framing them and figuring out their problems. You need to be figuring out these things so that you can then close more deals. This is how we close deals. This is how you make your first $1 million in profit. It's also important for you to know that everyone's not going to say yes. Some people are going to say no. Some people are going to say F you. Some people are not going to want to sell to you. But you have to know how to churn through those. This is economics. There's going to be people, there are going to be units of people that say no. And you have to get to the people that say yes. So you have to have that discipline. You have to have that persistence in order to talk to people to the point where now you have a ridiculous amount of deal flow. And you have to be able to survive through the down cycles as well. You have down cycles in every single business. So when you see these things on social media and people are like, oh man, yeah, like it's never bad for me. It's all good. Everything. No, everyone has dips in business. It could be a week. It could be a day. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 3 months. But you have to be able to go through the dips in the business and still be profitable and still be consistent and still take action. Most people are just not cut out for making $1 million in profit. That's why so many most people are just not cut out for making $1 million in profit. And that's why so few people do it. Most people are just not cut out for it. And you're not cut out for it because you're not willing to do the things that it's going to take. You might be willing to do the research. You might be willing to take all the notes. You might be willing to take all the courses. But are you willing to have 100 conversations in a day? Are you willing to make 100 phone calls in a day? Are you willing to hear 100 FUs, 100 no's? Are you willing to hear that to get to where you want to go? And this is why the why you're doing it is so important. Why you're doing it is so important to the process. Because if you forget why you're doing it, you won't do it anymore. And some people's why is not strong enough. So it feels good to you to be like, oh yeah, man, I want to make $1 million in profit. It feels good to say it. But do you actually know what it's going to take? Do you really want to do it? Do you really want to build wealth? And these are questions that you have to ask yourself on your journey. Because all these vanity numbers, and honestly, quite frankly, I'm sick of it. These vanity numbers and people saying they want to do something and having these big dreams. Oh, I got big dreams. I got big goals. I want to do this. I want to do that. But have not put any pen to paper. Have not put any feet to pavement. It takes massive action and massive delivery of value if you want to make your first $1 million profit. And then what's crazy is once you get to that point, it doesn't even feel like that much because you've worked on yourself so much. You've practiced so much. You've acquired skills so much that now you're like, hey, what's the next thing? What's the next horizon? How can I grow better? You have to become obsessed with getting better. And you cannot be a person that sits on your laurels and like, oh yeah, I'm cool with 100K a year. I'm cool with 200K a year. You're thinking like a poor person. You're thinking like a peasant when you think like this. You need to do everything in your power to get as rich as possible for your livelihood, for your family. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a fool. Anyone who tells you that making money is evil and is not good and you shouldn't be trying to make millions of dollars and you shouldn't try to start this business that's going to change your life. Anyone that tells you that is a fool and you should not listen to them. And you should also look at where they are in life. Because the person that is telling you not to start the business, telling you not to be consistent, saying, hey, why are you on the phone with this many people? Why don't you just get a job? Why don't you just work for someone? The people that are telling you that are 99.99%, probably 100% broke and not in the position they want to be in life and are telling you what they're telling you because they didn't get to where they wanted to go in their life. So you have to realize this. And if you're a person that's doubting yourself, you have to figure out who you are and what you are. And come up with who you are and what you are and live in it. You need to shift to a degree in where you are being who you are, who you want to be. And close the gap between the version of yourself that is right now and the version of yourself that's already made $1 million in profit. How do you do that? Start to think about what it will feel like. Start to think about what it will feel like to open your bank balance and see $1 million. Start to think about what it will feel like to receive a wire for $100,000 to your bank account. You just waking up in the morning, you forgot it happened. You forgot the deal even closed. Start thinking about that. These are things I used to think about when I wasn't even closing deals. I would put myself in the emotional state of closing deals that I made $50,000 on, 100 grand on, 200 grand on before it ever happened. I put myself in the emotional state of seeing what $1 million bank balance would look like. I put myself in the emotional state of what it would feel like to be able to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash into things that I want to invest into. I put myself into that emotional state. I lived there until I got there. And so you have to be able to shift to that degree and stay there. So when you get stressed out, replace it with that feeling. And also be willing to couple that with the work. You couple that strong emotional feeling with a ridiculous and relentless work ethic and a really good vehicle, what you get is the results. 10 times out of 10 times. You will always get great results. You truthfully owe it to your bloodline. You truthfully owe it to your family. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the life that you could be living to make as much money as you possibly can. You owe it to yourself. You really do. If you're a person that just knows that you want more for yourself and knows that you want to build beyond where you are currently and knows that you're not filling up to your potential and you feel like you've done well, even like you've even done well, you've had some success, but you're still not there yet, this is the video for you. And I would go back and rewind and listen to the techniques that I talked about, because if I gave this video to myself 6, 7, 8 years ago, I would have been able to turn over $1 million in profit very quickly. And I hope you can do the same.